Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where Karens confuse regular Joe Schmo customers as employees. And in today's episode, you'll hear how an old man goes crazy when OP refuses to serve his wife. I hope you enjoy the other stories as well, and do hit that subscribe button for future stories. A few years ago, I was in a large home improvement store. I had a regular shopping buggy, as well as a lumber cart, both filled with materials for whatever remodeling job I was doing at the time. I did have an orange t-shirt that matched the aprons worn by the employees, but most definitely do not work there. As I was going down one of the aisles with both my carts, an elderly gentleman stopped me, asking if I worked there. I told him I didn't work there, but I'd be happy to help him find whatever it was he needed. We walked a couple of aisles over, leaving the carts in the aisle where we met. As I was explaining the difference between two similar products, a female customer comes up and she was obviously waiting to talk to me. She needed help deciding what kind of doorknob she needed for a storm door, which I gladly helped her pick out. I was finally able to get back to my carts to finish gathering supplies when an actual employee approaches me. The guy says something along the lines of, "Now that you're done with helping customers, do you think you can get all this junk put back on the shelves?" At this, I just laughed and said, "No, I'm good." The employee then gets red in the face and says, "Hey, you need to put all this crap back or I'm gonna call the manager. If you work here, you have to work." Now at this point, I realized that I was once again being mistaken for an employee, so I said, "Go ahead and call him." The employee then punches some numbers into his phone and starts telling whoever picked up that the new guy has 2 carts full of random stuff in aisle X, and he's refusing to put it back on the shelves. The manager quickly comes to the aisle that we're in. I figured at this point, everyone's gonna have a good laugh at the misunderstanding, but boy was I wrong. The manager immediately starts telling me, "Hey, you will take these items and you will put them back where they belong, or you're gonna get terminated." I tried at this time explaining that I don't work there, but was further verbally abused by the manager saying, "I saw you on the monitors wandering around the store talking to customers, when you should have been putting all this back where it belongs. You're getting paid to work, not chat with customers all day." At this point, I decided I was done with that particular store, and I just walked out, leaving about $4,000 worth of merchandise sitting in 2 carts for someone to put away while I loudly told the manager, "I don't work here." Guys, if I was OP, I would have told him to fire me. Have him walk me into his office, start the paperwork, and when he can't find me in the system as an employee, just laugh at him for not knowing who his employees are. And yes, guys, I literally do have that much time on my hands at any time of the day. So I work as a point of sale technician. My job is essentially driving around with a truck full of touchscreens and receipt printers, doing service calls at grocery stores, restaurants, cafes, retail stores, servicing pretty much any company that doesn't have its own dedicated tech team. Many times each day, I'm confused for staff. And it's completely understandable since I'm usually behind a counter somewhere with the computer. Now I do what I can to avoid customer contact. I dress in all black, no name tag, I carry tools with me, avoid eye contact, and get in and out as quickly as possible. Now this works most of the time, but otherwise I have no problem telling people, "Hey, sorry, I actually don't work here, but they can help you on the other till." My job is literally an I Don't Work Here the movie. Anyways, so today, I had a call at a grocery store because one of the till's serial ports stopped working. So basically, I have to crack open the computer case, replace the parts that don't work, plug everything back in, yada yada yada. So this story begins with me just at the point where I've unplugged everything and I have the computer pulled out from its compartment. I pop up from under the counter to see a lady unloading a whole cart of food onto the conveyor belt, and she's on her phone. I give the woman a little wave and say, "Oh, hey, this lane is actually closed. Sorry for the inconvenience." But she continues unloading the cart. I then point at the little pyramid that's sitting on the conveyor belt directly in front of her that says it's closed. The thing that's slowly getting covered in the growing pile of groceries. She then gives me a little hand wave, signaling for me to buzz off as she's on her phone. She rolls her eyes, but she continues unloading, and I'm thinking, all bets are off. I then make a show of slamming the computer down in front of her. I unscrew the case, pop it open, remove the part that I needed to fix, and she's done unloading the carts, and she's looking antsy and watching me. By the time everything's plugged back in and I turn the computer on, she's off her phone. Karen says, "Hey, what's taking so long?" I tell her, "I'm sorry, I told you this lane's closed. You should try the other lane." Karen says, "But I've already unloaded my carts. I'm not gonna wait in line again." Now, she said this as if she waited in line to begin with. I tell her, "Well, this till's gonna take about 45 more minutes. You're welcome to wait it out." Upon hearing this, she says, "Are you serious?" this is ridiculous. Where's your manager? I tell her in his office in a different city. I don't work here. I'm just fixing the computer, and it's gonna take a while. She then decides to stand around for a good 10 minutes while I'm installing software, until the manager walks by and she flags him down. She begins to complain to him about how rude I was being and how I was making her wait and wait and wait, and how this is such poor customer service. I tell him, hey, I told her the lane was closed. The guy then asked me how much longer, and I said half an hour. He then says, okay, well, I'll be happy to help you at the customer service desk. At this, Karen says, finally, some service. She then loads up her cards, walks it over to customer service with a smug grin, thinking she's won. Like, lady, you didn't win anything. You literally just wasted your own time arguing with me, and then you did the exact thing you were complaining about not wanting to do, which was having to move registers while feeling proud of yourself. Like, there were open registers the whole time, and I don't know why she wasted her own time. Guys, Karens don't care, that's why. If she had accepted her error and admitted the mistake of not seeing the lane closed sign on the conveyor belt, she would have shown weakness. Instead, she had to assert dominance by waiting and then getting a manager. Whatever helps her sleep at night, right? So this story happened when I was still in high school. I was shopping at a clothing store that I go to very often. On this particular day, I went after school on a Friday. Now, my school has a uniform that consists of a white or blue polo with a plaid skirt, and it's widely recognizable in the area. The skirt was mid-thigh length on me due to my height. Now, while it wasn't exactly knee length, I wouldn't call it short either, as I could safely bend down. I was holding an armful of clothes that I was going to try on later, and I had accidentally knocked some clothes off the rack with a hanger that was sticking out. Now, the decent human thing to do would to be pick up what you dropped, right? Well, I bent down to pick it up when I hear someone huff and storm up behind me. I thought they were angry because I was in the way, so I apologized to her and walked off. She wasn't a Karen, she was an older lady, like Karen's mom, so I'm gonna call her Glenda. So suddenly, Glenda grabs my shoulder and she jerks me backwards, making me drop my armful of clothes. Glenda screams, "Why were you ignoring me? I've been following you for 8 minutes now, and you didn't acknowledge me." I say to her, "Do I know you?" And Glenda says, "Ugh, you stupid kids. I don't need to introduce myself to you to get your help." Now me, still oblivious but annoyed, said, "I'm sorry. What do you need my help for?" Glenda says, "Are you dumb? Seriously, why did they hire you? I want to know where blah 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 is, and I can't find it because your store is confusing." I told her I don't work here. You can follow the signs. Glenda says, "Liar. You kids are so lazy. I can see you work here. You have that collared shirt on." At this point, I just turn around to walk away. I could hear her screaming after me about managers and how I'm incompetent. Unfortunately, my plans of escaping were foiled, as I needed to pick up my clothes that dear Glenda threw on the ground for no reason. As soon as I bent down, Glenda screams, "Don't you do that again, you slut! Don't you bend down in your little skirt. They should fire you for how you dress alone." Now, unfortunately, this isn't the satisfying story where I pressed charges and got Glenda put away for assault. I was 14 and dumb, so escaping from her was the best I could do. I picked up my clothes and put them away on the fitting room rack and left because I didn't feel like trying anything on anymore. On my way out, I saw Glenda yelling at someone who I presume is the manager, and then pointing in my general direction. I waved and walked right out. Best believe I'd be much more vindictive if it happened today. Yeah, that's definitely a good way to get an employee to help you for sure. Double down on that craziness and comment on the way they dress. Very classy, Glenda. So I've got a couple of stories of being mistaken for an employee, but this is the earliest I can remember. As a grown woman, I'm shy, anxious, hate confrontation, and I try my best to avoid eye contact. I've also always had the habit of flailing and trying to escape when someone touches me unexpectedly. I've accidentally hit many people in the past, mostly family members and a couple of friends. They've all been cool about it, especially since I always apologize and they've always been warned beforehand. I'm not very strong either, so my panicky, limp-wristed flailing doesn't usually hurt when it connects. With that said, at 12, I was far worse. One day, my mother had injured herself at work, and while she could still drive, she had trouble walking. So after school, I was sent into the grocery store for the essentials, while she waited in the car. It was my first time shopping alone. I was nervous, so I was just trying to grab the stuff and get out of there. It's been a while, but I know I was wearing a t-shirt, probably with a Snoopy or Tweety Bird on it because that's what I wore at the time. I was still very obviously a kid. On the way to the milk, I ducked down an aisle to avoid a group coming my way, and noticed a display of old-fashioned cream soda, sold in individual bottles. Now, I'd been given permission to get something for myself, and I love these sodas, and they were hard to find, so I was definitely getting some. As I was loading up my basket, I heard someone behind me clear their throats. Thinking I was blocking the path, I didn't look back to them and just moved closer to the shelf. And then I hear it, the aggressive sounding, ahem. So I stepped to the side, thinking I was blocking what this person wanted, and reached up high for one more soda on the top shelf. And that's when I felt a hand clamp down on my shoulder, gripping tightly. The woman spun me around while yelling something to the effect of, "Hey, can you get me the..." And that's when I let out a terrified yelp. I stumbled back and I flailed at her with my left hand, the hand that was holding the heavy glass bottle of soda. Now I can still remember the dull clank it made as it collided with the woman's head. And with that, she let me go. Now, I don't know what her response was because I dropped the shopping basket and I just ran away. I ran out, jumped into the car, and begged my mom to just go, and she did. I think she assumed I had a panic attack or something, but thankfully she didn't question it. I didn't manage to calm down enough to tell her what happened until we got home. She checked my shoulder and she found the woman's fingernails had actually dug into my shirt and scratched my skin, and it was surprisingly painful. Now, I don't know if the woman complained about the crazy employee who attacked her or what, but I think the lady deserved what she got. If you lay your aggressive hands on someone hard enough, you deserve to get cracked in the cranium with a cream soda. See, guys, this is exactly why you don't put your hands on other people. And a full-grown adult has no business putting their hands on any random stranger, let alone a 12-year-old, because you never know how people are going to respond to being touched. With that said though, I do hope the woman's okay, because a bottle to the head is no joke, guys. Karen or not. This happened just this morning. My day started off with me showing up to work, only to realize that today was my day off. So with my day off, I decided to go and buy a turkey for Thanksgiving. I didn't go back home to change my clothes because the store was closer. So I went to the store in a typical office outfit, not thinking anything of it. There were plenty of turkeys, and I chose a nice big fat one, and I was salivating already. As I was about to put it into my cart, this older woman says, "I'll take that one," and reaches for it. Now I thought that was some kind of joke she was making, like, "That's a nice turkey, I'll take it," only to pretend to grab it. So I chuckle until she actually has her hands on the turkey and she tries to take it. I was shocked and asked what she's doing. She then becomes all huffy and whiny and said, "I thought you were restocking the turkey, and since you were holding it, I felt it was better to grab it from you than to have to bend over and grab one, potentially hurting my back." At this point, I'm a little confused, so I say, "Restock it? Oh, I don't work here. I was just putting the turkey into the cart, not taking the turkey out of it." Hearing this, Karen got really upset and she grabs her husband's attention. Now, this guy looks like one of those "my wife is a queen and should be treated as such" types. He looks at me like I'm some sort of idiot who needs to be told how to respect people even though I'm pushing 30. He says to me, "Son, now you give her that turkey and maybe I won't report you to your manager." I just look at him and say, "I'm sorry, I don't actually work here. There's plenty of other turkeys right there. I mean, if she needs help putting a turkey into her cart, I don't mind helping, but you seem like you're more than capable of doing that." Hearing this, he then raises his voice at me and said, "I tried to be fair with you. Now you give her that turkey on the count of 3, or I will have no choice but to put the fear of God into you." At this, I stare at him blankly, wondering if this is real, and then the guy starts to count. He starts counting out loudly, saying 1, 2, and at this point, I'm pretty much just going, what the heck is wrong with this guy? Is he for real? I just want this turkey, there's plenty of other turkeys. Why is this one so special? So thankfully, the meat department manager was close by, and he interrupts him saying, "Is everything alright over here?" The man looks at him and says, "No, your employee over here is refusing to give my wife that turkey. She has a bad back, and trying to lift one of these turkeys could cause her harm. I should sue you and this idiot you hired for attempting to cause my wife bodily harm." The manager then looks at me, seeing that I clearly do not work here, and said to him, "Sir, this man doesn't work here. He has no obligation to give you that turkey. Please calm down and I'll grab another turkey for you. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." Hearing that, the man's face turns red and he loses it. He says, "I'm a customer. How dare you talk to me in such disrespect? I will have you know that this is no man. This is a boy who needs to be taught a lesson in manners, and if you don't understand that, maybe you need a lesson too." His wife then looks at me like a teacher would look at a misbehaving student and said, "See what you caused? Your mother must have been a horrible parent if this is the child she raised." And I'm thinking, oh no, you're not gonna talk about my mom. So I say to her, "You know what? Here, take it. take this stupid turkey, have it. It's not worth putting up with this Jerry Springer act, so have your damn turkey. I then slam it into their cart and stormed out. Now, I thought I'd be done with them, but Mr. Anger Management decides that I did not excuse myself from the dinner table properly enough. He says, "Excuse you? I demand an apology for how you're treating my wife and I want it right now." So I give it to him. I flip him off. I tell him he can shove it where the sun don't shine along with that turkey, and then I let him know that my mom died a few weeks ago, and I told him to thank his wife for what she said. Now, I've never been punched in the face before, and I can mark that off my bucket list, so yeah. When the cops asked if I wanted to press charges against him, you can bet your ass I did. The store manager gave me a free turkey, as well as several pies. Thanksgiving turned out great. As for the raging couple, I have a friend whose brother's a lawyer, and he'll be working on my case. I hope OP seriously went through with those charges on that guy. Like, hitting someone over a turkey is so ridiculous. And I feel like a lot of the people in these stories have an unbelievable sense of pride. Once someone's decided that they're right, pride doesn't allow them to shift their way of thinking. Like, that guy could have easily saw all the other turkeys there and grabbed one and called it a day, but no, he had to teach OP a lesson by assaulting him. I'm an aspiring law enforcement officer. In one of those cities that I'm close to employment with, I decided to do a ride along with an officer to see what a typical shift is like. The shift started at 11 p.m., but around 12:30 a.m., my riding officer and I responded to a commercial robbery in process. The suspects were long gone. We did the whole cop thing. We secured the area, phoned the shift commander, started the report, and waited for crime scene investigations to show up. The suspects entered the business through a large front window by throwing a large rock through it. There were glass shards and rock everywhere. Around 1 a.m., the store manager finally shows up. The poor guy had to drive an hour and a half to get to the store. By this time, CSI was done with their tasks, and we began to look at the security footage. Now, as a ride-along, you should dress somewhat sharp. It's respectful and obviously looks good, especially if you're applying with the department. I had on khaki pants and a long-sleeve button-down collared shirt, very business casual. While the CSI team, the store manager, my riding officer, and I were reviewing the security footage, a supporting officer shows up. Now, I could tell immediately that he was sort of an airhead. He just walks in and says, "Whoa, they used a freaking boulder?" The tone in his voice made me laugh a little, but I just minded my own business and kept my eyes on the footage. I came to find out that this place had been robbed 3 times over the past 3 months. The airhead supporting officer kept looking at me kind of awkwardly, but I ignored it. He then asked where the bathroom was. The store manager told him, but the supporting officer was looking at me when he asked. My riding officer and the CSI team asked, "Does he think this kid works here?" and sort of laughed it off. The officer comes out of the bathroom, and a few more minutes of conversation, he starts giving me tips on how I should keep the business more secure. My riding officer starts snickering, but I decided to play along. I had about a 15-minute conversation with this officer on how to be more secure in the future and how to be safe during a robbery. He even recommended that we put dummy phones on the shelf to fool potential thieves, as it was a mobile phone store that got robbed. I even took fake notes in my little notebook on his recommendations. So after torturing the officer for about 15 minutes, I finally asked him, "So what exactly makes you think I work here?" Upon hearing that, my riding officer, the CSI team, even the store manager started busting up laughing. He tried to defend himself by saying things like, "Well, damn, you're not in uniform," and "You're not a suspect, are you?" He finally asked my riding officer, "Dude, is this guy a rider?" My riding officer in mid-laughter just nodded at Officer Airhead, and he took a lot of crap from everyone until we left around 2:30 a.m. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, a super entitled Karen charges money to see her newborn. It's such an entitled story, so go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy, we'll see you guys in the next one. We love you.